so it can be considered
Call this meeting to order.
anonymous as well. So people don't.
All right, any comments from the public? Mr. Clemens, you got any comments? All right. Item number 3 on the agenda, discussion and possible action on setting 2020 Board of Commissioner objectives. I'm gonna turn it over to Ms. Pat.
Step 1, we put our objectives up by the categories. I put the categories, Heather and I, the same ones we used last year. It seemed to work well. If people have something else that they want to put up there, like if they want a miscellaneous to capture things they don't think fit in this, we can do it. But the idea is, write your idea of the objective on a sticky note and go stick the sticky note in the appropriate category. And then afterwards, we will group things that are similar, like if 6 people say for financial budget, no tax increase, that'll get grouped together and there'll be no tax increase as an objective. And then at the next meeting that we discuss our objectives, which should be the first budget meeting, before then, you will get the list of here's the objectives as we did them. Please rate them. And I gave you the point scale. And then we will come and discuss which ones we adopt as the Board of Commissioners' official list of objectives. Some objectives can be very easy to achieve, must-haves, but easy to achieve. Some are more complicated, and we'll have to think about what we want to do as a board versus, because there are some things that the board itself does versus things you're tasking the town to do, taking time and resource into account. So that'll be more step 2. But there is no wrong or right objective idea. It's just to get them all up there, and then we will consolidate, and then everybody will look at the list and give it a ranking. So we can go to it unless anybody has any questions.
The only question I have, or maybe suggestion, I went last night and pulled out the goals and objectives the commissioners came up with for last year, for the 2019-2020 year. Is there some value in at least reviewing those?
No.
Okay, why not?
How'd that work out?
How'd that work out?
Well, the problem, frankly, the problem we had last year is that we went through the whole process. We agreed that we would look at everything that had a score above 10 and go through and make decisions, and there were 2 commissioners who simply said they only wanted to address basically financial things, and so we never really went through the full list and had a discussion. It was sort of railroaded through that, and then somebody said we can only have 5, I think it was 5 objectives. It wasn't the ending it should have been.
Okay.
And again, I don't want to prejudice what people are already thinking. We can include that in the next discussion. And, I mean, I know what those objectives are because I consolidated them and summarized them. But I started fresh without really looking at them. There are some on there that are similar, but I think we can put them on the next one or send them out in between this meeting and the next one for people to look at and say, maybe I forgot something. But I would rather have people put up
And I'm
what
fine
they're.
with that, I just want to make sure, I mean, some of these would probably apply no matter what. I
And
mean,
I'll bet you I've captured some
yeah.
of them.
I mean, there's stuff like, things like increase the B part fund balance, the general fund balance, create a short-term beach nourishment plan. Those are probably things we're gonna end up having again this year. I just hated to start purely from scratch. But it's your process, so I'll go with
No,
whatever you want to do.
wait,
No, it's the board's process.
Well,
Yeah.
she's driving it for us.
and I would suggest that whatever resource you use, if you see something that you think should be included, then whether it was listed or not listed, just put it
Yeah,
up there.
sure. Yeah,
And
that's
then
fine.
we'll
Yeah.
just talk about it, that's all.
I'm just throwing that out as an alternative.
And
Yeah.
just remember, objectives are supposed to be doable.
Yep.
So putting up a wish list, if you don't see that with our resources, our manpower, the way we operate, that we can do it, it's more of a hope or dream. It's not really an objective. And, I mean, my company used to group
I don't agree
objectives
with
as
that.
well
I don't agree with that at all.
into hopes, into objectives and
Yep.
hopes.
Yep.
But if you're gonna put something up that we aren't resourced for, then you need to be ready to describe what resources are needed and that you will support those resources. So that's what I'm saying, doable, it doesn't mean existing, but it's what you're willing to support in the
Yep.
future.
Yep. I'm fine.
Okay, and again, there's no good or bad that what you put up there. It'll get addressed at the next meeting when everybody discusses and ranks,
Okay.
okay? And staff is encouraged to put up anything they want to as well, as last year.
We got to get
Okay.
Chris some sticky notes.
Here, Chris.
Well, wait a
I'll
minute,
give
wait a
you-
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. We need to talk about that, because the way that the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act works is that the department heads give their wish list to me, and I assimilate that and merge it with the board's objectives. So this is the board's workshop where y'all perform an exercise that articulates the strategic objectives. And that's, the staff did not participate with sticky notes part
Well,
of the
they
exercise
actually-
last
Let him
year.
speak, Pat.
I'm telling you, the staff did not sticky note last year, and that's not what this exercise is supposed to be for.
I recall last year, we did say if staff had, and this was not about budget-specific things, it was more if they had an objective that they thought the board could consider. But that's fine, David, then,
I would prefer that this be the board's day,
Okay.
and that y'all conceptually, attempt to conceptually articulate what your strategic goals are, instead of the staff weighing in with, I need a new police car, or I need this kind of thing. That's the budget officer and the manager speaking.
okay. Okay, that being said, we can do our thing. What happens next is that by category, last year we just split it up, and people looked and saw whether or not a couple of them were basically the same thing, in which case you just slap them on top of each other to get the final how many there are. Then, basically Heather and I reduced them to a coherent, sort of sentence, which she and I, and if there's another person who wants to help, that would be appreciated, but we were gonna do it next Tuesday.
Okay.
Next Tuesday, afternoon.
Okay.
And then that way, we've got 3 sets of eyes on how we make these different ones into like a clear ask of what the objective is. So that's the next step. So we can either stay here now and work together to consolidate on each sheet, or if people prefer, some people I know need to leave. If other people just say we're willing to leave it to Heather, Woody, and Pat, you can leave it to Heather, Woody, and Pat to do the next step of consolidating. It's up to
What's
every.
yours?
Doesn't matter to me. I mean, all it is
Categorization.
listing it,
Yeah.
kind of
It's listing it.
consolidating what's up there, so we're not gonna discuss it, so.
All right, Heather.
I'm happy with letting you do it.
Okay, well, if y'all are fine, Heather, Pat, and,
You good?
I'm good.
Good.
I need to talk with it.
Okay.
all right.
That's fine.
Any more issues?
And just for the record, what we'll do is we'll actually photocopy those, so
Yeah,
if
we
there's
took-
any belly, if you say,
we
well,
snap-
y'all didn't get what I did.
We
we'll-
snapshotted them.
We'll
We
snapshot it so
snapshotted
that
them.
we can have the reference for
Okay.
the record.
Hey, David, what I was asking you about earlier, do we as a board need to ask you to do that?
If that's what you would like to do, I mean, that would be the thing to do. That's probably a conversation that I can have without having to formally pass those, and I'll feed that back to you.
Okay.
All right, and nothing else? And a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Everybody have a good day.